Okay, so my name's Kevin, and we're here to talk about Microsoft EMET. Is anyone out there running EMET in their environment? Right. I'm done here. Okay, good. So for those of you who are running it, you know the goodness. For those of you who aren't, I'm going to tell you the goodness, and hopefully this can help you out. So we'll go through who I am, the problem, the solution, a solution anyway, some features and mitigations inside of EMET, maybe some downsides you'll run into with it, deployment targets, a little demo if we have time. I'm actually going to show you what the thing looks like and how it works, and then we'll do a summary and some Q&A. So my name is Kevin Januso. I'm the Senior Security Architect at Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm an advanced persistent Pittsburgher, been here my whole life. I landed my first IT security job in 1998 after a post-interview pen test. And it sounds cooler than it really is. Remember, back in the 90s, you could sneeze on something and knock it over and get root. So what happened was I had an interview. I really, really wanted this job. And I asked the guy at the end of the interview, hey, do you mind if I just take a look at your network whenever I get home tonight? He was like, oh, yeah, sure, that'd be great. I was like, okay, could you sign this thing that says I'm allowed to do that? And he signed it, and he was cool with it. You know, the next day he came in, opened up his computer, and there was a little .txt file sitting on his desktop that said, hey, Brad, open me. And he opened it up, and I said, dude, you got some firewall problems. This is Windows 98. Very simple to break into Windows 98 when it's not behind a firewall. And he called me that day, and I got the job the following. So. And 3 times B-Sides Pittsburgh speaker. Thank you so much for having me back again, guys. And give these guys a hand for what they do to put this thing on. It's a lot of work and really good stuff. All right, let's get into it. So the problem. Well, one of the big problems is that patching is hard. Okay, the need to test patches slows the defenders down. And then you got the non-Microsoft vendors that don't make it easy to patch, things like Flash and Java, etc. And then you got applications that depend on legacy code, and Java is notorious for that, right? Everybody's got does anybody have an application in their environment that requires Java? Like old ancient versions of Java from the 90s? Exactly. So that's a big problem. You can't just tell the business, no, you can't run that anymore because the underlying engine that makes it go stinks, So you have to accommodate for them. But you got to wonder why they're still doing this too. Microsoft is actually flagging the Ask toolbar as malware now. So Oracle is installing malware on your machine when you go to install Java, just so everybody knows. The other problem is that the attackers are fast, right? When it comes down to it, they can crank out exploit code faster than you can patch for it. A public MS14064 exploit came out 2 days after the patch, okay? But it was already being exploited in the wild. It just made it easy for everybody to run that exploit. And then somebody mentioned exploit kits earlier today. Exploit kits are, you can buy them on the dark web. Go get yourself some magic internet money, also known as Bitcoin, and you can go on the dark web and buy yourself an exploit kit. And oh, look at you, now you're a hacker, yay! So we have to defend against this crap. And Kaspersky and Cisco both agree that 95% of all attacks target Java, Adobe products, Internet Explorer, or Microsoft Office. That's 95% of the attacks. And actually 91% of those are Java. So obviously we have a problem. So EMET is a potential solution for that. It stands for the Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit. It's a Microsoft product since 2009. This thing's been around for a while. It's free as in beer, free as in B-Sides. Provides advanced protection against known and unknown threats, and it's the unknown threats that's interesting, right? We don't need a signature to protect something with EMET. And there was only one cash prize, it was 150 grand that went unclaimed at Pwn 2014, and it was Internet Explorer 11 secured with EMET. That's 150 grand. There's a lot of hackers want that money, and they couldn't get it because of EMET. And also, Dave Kennedy approves this. You'll hear him talk about EMET at any of his talks. If you don't know who Dave Kennedy is, very well-respected pen tester in the industry, one of the best. And he approves it. And see, he's giving a thumbs up. He approves it. So some EMET features. Let's talk about that a little bit. It's user-defined on a per-application basis. So you choose what you want to protect, and you pick it on a per-application basis. Out of the box, it's going to do all of those commonly attacked pieces of software that we talked about. It's your Internet Explorer, Microsoft Office, JRE, not the ASC toolbar, and Adobe Acrobat and Reader. It's regularly updated. EMET 5.1 came out in November of last year. 5.2 is the latest version, came out in March of this year. So Microsoft is actively working on this and improving it. All versions of Windows are supported, up to the 5.x version. Even XP was supported. And the mitigations are limited on Server 2003, but you're getting rid of that anyway, right? Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. Nobody's going to have that laying around. And it's not signature based, which is fantastic. I don't know if my little video is going to work, but golf clap? Golf clap. Right? Yeah. So no signatures are a good thing. So now we're going to get into each of the specific mitigations that EMET brings to the table. SEHOP, or Structured Exception Handler Overwrite Protection. This is buffer overflow heap protection. So this is watching buffers and making sure that things aren't overflowing the buffer and then executing code. DEP, I've heard this mentioned a few times today, data execution prevention. So it used to be that applications could build in support for DEP. Now with EMET, EMET enforces DEP on any application. The application doesn't have to be compiled for it. So that's good. It's application agnostic. It marks the stack and the heap as non-executable. So you're not going to be able to run shell code out of the stack. And the attacks are actually blocked at the CPU level. So very, very early on, these attacks get blocked. Heap spray allocation. So this is essentially preventing an attacker from taking their shellcode and spraying it to multiple locations in memory. And that's a common technique because the attacker doesn't necessarily know where their pointer is going to end up. So they try to put in as many places in memory as possible. And this particular mitigation prevents them from being able to do that. Mandatory ASLR. ASLR is address space location randomization. So again, you're randomizing the address space that's allocated to a process. And it makes memory locations less predictable. If memory locations are less predictable, I'm going to have a harder time getting my exploit code to run. Oh, sorry about that. EAF and EAF Plus, they list these as two separate things, but they're really all part of the same family of mitigations. This is export address table access. So what this prevents is the attacker from using internal Windows system calls to actually execute an attack. So system APIs become unavailable to the attacker, which is helpful for a defender because now you're not giving the attacker the tools they need to get their job done. Bottom-up randomization is very similar to ASLR, it just goes the other direction, from the bottom of the stack up for whatever processes are spinning up that way. ROP mitigations. ROP is return-oriented programming. So again, where you're looking for a pointer to return to a certain spot and execute code. There's a number of mitigations here, but the idea is we're preventing code from being executed from the stack. And some of the ROP mitigations are 32-bit only. So if, in the modern age of 64-bit systems, some of them aren't actually there, not yet anyway. Microsoft is definitely working on that. ASR attack surface reduction. So this is a very slick thing. This solves the Java problem. Okay. So what this lets you say is, well, only stuff in my trusted sites can run Java, or only stuff on the internal network can run Java. On the outside world, you don't run Java, ever. But if you put something in trusted sites that's on the outside world, now it can run Java. So that's your fix for having old, crappy versions of Java laying around that you need for specific internal applications, but you don't need for anything else. You can also do things like Microsoft Word can't call Adobe Flash. Why would it? You don't need that, right? And they just added support for Visual Basic. So you can say things like Visual Basic scripts only run internally. Very, very helpful feature right there. Control Flow Guard is a brand new thing. It's in EMET 5.2, and it's a new feature in Visual Basic Studio 2015 that helps prevent code hijacking. The application must be compiled to support it, and it's only supported on Windows 8.1 or higher. And certificate pinning is one of the last ones. So this is the type of thing where you could actually give your EMET clients certificates for essential systems. So the VPN, for example, you actually give it the certificate and say, this is the certificate that you should see when you connect to the VPN. If you don't see that, don't even bother connecting. And so that helps with man-in-the-middle attacks and that sort of stuff. That's EMET mitigations. That's a lot of technical terms in a short amount of time. Anybody have questions? Okay. So some downsides. It's not a panacea. It's been bypassed. 5.0 versions have all been bypassed. The 4.x version's been bypassed. And it doesn't protect everything by default. You actually have to configure it for the things that you want to protect. So, you know, it's not a perfect solution. It's a solution to the problem. It requires some heavy pre-deployment testing. Some of the things that you'll see it break are like the Adobe Reader plugin, certain versions of Adobe Reader. That can break Java applications, not so much, but the Adobe Flash occasionally. It's good with Java. It's good with Microsoft Word and Internet Explorer and that kind of stuff. So you just have to do a lot of testing before you just go rolling this out to the world. It has some limited GPO settings. This is better controlled by putting the configuration file out on a file share, and then having, whenever your machine logs into the network, the first thing it does is go check that file share, see if there's a new XML file sitting out there. If there is, pull it down. If not, just let it go. It's a little bit kludgy from that point of view, but I imagine that Microsoft is working on the group policy side to try to have this be more centrally pushed. And then the other bummer is there's no central reporting. So you either have the option to write to the event log or display to the user, hey, you almost got popped. And that's not super helpful. You'd like to have that end up in a central repository somewhere. If you had something running on the endpoint that's doing log collection and forwarding, it does go to the event log. You can look for that specific event log and then collect it that way. Some deployment targets, obviously your end user workstations, but then think about things like Citrix servers, which are essentially end user workstations. Point of sale systems, ATMs, any server that acts as like a jump server or a bastion host, something that people may occasionally fire up Internet Explorer on, even though it's a server, they'll do it if they can. Other high-value servers, but not domain controllers. Microsoft highly recommends against deploying EMET on domain controllers, just because there's a lot of things going on in there, and you shouldn't be surfing the internet from a domain controller anyway, right? Let's hope anyway. Okay, I think there's going to be some time for a demo, so let's do it. The setup is 2 virtual machines, 1 jerk. Figure out who the jerk is. The first VM will be the iBub. It's the intentionally broken and unpatched box, okay? It's a Windows 7 64-bit machine missing MS14064 and a whole pile of other patches, but that's the one that we're actually going to be testing. It has an ancient version of Java on there, circa 2011, prehistoric Adobe Reader 8.1 from many moons ago. The user's running as local admin, and we've disabled antivirus. This is your nightmare box, right? You don't ever want to see this thing on your network. You don't want to be anywhere near it. And then the second VM is just the latest Kali Linux running Metasploit. So the plan, we'll do before and after photos. We'll own the iBub via known exploits, then we'll install EMET on the Windows box and attempt to re-own it. Okay? Wish me luck, it's demo time. That's a fine question, sir. That's the question every year. All right, let me just set up Metasploit here. See, you can see that Windows is so upset about life. He's like, you might want to do something about your antivirus. I can show you that there's no patches installed here, but I mean, it's really, I promise you, it's true. Okay, so this first one, this is the MS14064 OLE code execution. This is a very reliable exploit. Works like a champ. every time, and it works. They have modules in there for PowerPoint and for Internet Explorer. And the PowerPoint one, it was interesting. Whenever they released the MS14064 patch, Microsoft actually included a code snippet in the bulletin that says, hey, if you're running EMET, here's what you can do in the meantime to protect yourself. So that's very helpful. Okay, so we are now running our nasty server. We don't care about Google. Let's do 10. Okay, so this is my evil box. Oh, yeah, my box wants to run PowerShell. Yes, all day, every day, please. There's oh no, interpreter session 1. Can you guys see that? So there we go. That means that we essentially have a shell on the iBub, which was expected. So let's do our Java exploit. Another extremely reliable exploit and Metasploit for Java. This will work every single time against ancient versions of Java, like the one that I'm running here and the one that everybody's running in their environment. Let's go to port 8080. It's doing something. Wheels are spinning. That's weird. Oh no, interpreter session 2 opened. Not good. So as expected, we popped the box, and now I'm just going to set up a interpreter handler for the third one. And this one is so that's 2 web-based kind of drive-by web type attacks that you'd see in the world. This one is kind of a demo of phishing land, where user gets a PDF. It says, hey man, I'm completely not evil. And so they just double click the heck out of it and it does some things. Yeah, save that. Yeah, I love it. Oh, yes. Let's see. You can't see the error message. It's a very funny error message. It's like, to view the encrypted content, please click the do not show this message again. Hey, I should do that, but I'm just going to open it up. That's a weird PDF. It doesn't really look like anything. Oh, no. Interpreter session 3. Okay. So there's your iBub. That's what it looks like. This guy can be compromised all kinds of different ways. So let's install EMET and see what happens. It's just your typical MSI, nothing special. We'll do all the defaults. We're not going to do any customization whatsoever. We're going to do out of the box. How's it look? It's not signed, I guess. It's unfortunate.
Can I ask you a question on this?
Please.
Deploying this out to an environment.
Yes.
What kind of support do you get from Microsoft?
So they will support you if you're running EMET. As far as deployment, like how to do it.
No, but pretty much, I mean, you're locking down a machine, so there's bound to be something coming out for 2 weeks and whatnot, sort of loosening the wheels on it.
Yeah, I mean for their own stuff, it's actually pretty lightweight. Like I haven't seen any problems with things like Internet Explorer or you know any of the Microsoft applications seem to behave okay with it. It's like whenever you start getting into like if you want to protect other plugins and that kind of stuff, and if those are third party, Microsoft's not going to give you a ton of support on it. So it's really you kind of have to just play around with it yourself.
But based out of the box, have you ever, or anybody here, ever had to contact Microsoft support based on something with EMET that they ran into?
We have not. I'll repeat the question. Has anybody running EMET had to contact Microsoft about an issue that was due to EMET?
No, but any issues I ran into, you just start back without the infections until you find the one that's really done. It's just checkboxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try to bring up the console here. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to be friendly enough. Okay, that gives you an idea. So you can actually go in here and look at the applications themselves, and each one of these columns is a different family of mitigations. Okay, so you can see Acrobat, Acro Read, these are all the defined applications that we're protecting, and then the various mitigations that are being applied to those applications. And if you look at the show full path, so you actually have to define where this thing's where the application's running out of. But the cool thing is that you can use wildcards. So it doesn't have to be a perfect path every time. The one that's a real pain in the butt on this particular thing is Adobe Flash, because each version of Flash goes into a new directory structure, and it just makes setting this up a little difficult. The good thing is once you have it set up, you can just export right here, and it'll export the XML file, and then that's the XML config file that you put up on the file share that you have all your clients go grab. And then anytime you make a change to your protections, you export the XML and put it back out on that file share. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Well, let's go back through our same attack scenarios. We'll do the same three: 2 browsers, and then our wonderful, completely not evil PDF. Okay. Evil has been launched. Okay, I'm going to do this guy, and let's see what happens. Now, Metasploit is seeing the request, but nothing's happening here. So just to make sure, hello? Hello? Now, Metasploit's seeing the actual request coming in, but it can't do anything there. So, okay. That's a win for that one. I didn't turn on, you actually have to turn logging on right after install, and I didn't do that. I apologize. I didn't have it, but you actually have to turn on the warning, and I didn't do that. I'm sorry, I should have done that. It ends up, just so everybody knows though, it ends up in the application log when you do turn the logging on. Let's see, 10. Okay, let's go to our Java URL. Okay. Oh, I should probably actually have Metasploit set up to launch the Java exploit. Apologies, folks. Okay, we're running 8080. Here we go. He sees it, sees the request, but nothing happens. It actually generates the jar file that would be evil, and that's it. Metasploit can't take it any further. So there we go. 2 of 3 attack vectors have been protected. And again, we're not running antivirus or anything else. The only thing protecting our butts right now is EMET. All right, last one. So this is our completely not evil PDF. We have a listener. And let's run the completely not evil PDF. No Java. I don't want the Ask toolbar today. Okay, so something's happening. Okay, all right, fine, save. Yes, I just want free Wi-Fi. Just let me click everything. Yes, open. Oh no! Ah, so we got a shell on the box even though we're running EMET. It is unfortunate, but again, not a panacea. So, let's go through the effectiveness summary. With Java, fully effective across all versions. I tested this on Java 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, obviously we just did. Works like a champ. None of the applications broke because, again, you can whitelist applications, no problem. You're allowed to use Java and just block everything else. Super effective against Java. Now, for CVE 2014-6332, that's the MS14064, fully effective against this. The exploit was blocked against both Internet Explorer and PowerPoint in my testing, and this is actually an improvement. When I tested this against EMET 5.1, I was able to get the IE exploit to work while PowerPoint was being blocked. So now in 5.2, they've made a change. I'm not sure what it is, but it's fully protecting against that type of attack right now. So that's good stuff. For Adobe Reader, partially effective. Versions 10.x were actually protected by EMET, but the older versions, this 8.x and 9.x, I guess it's just too old. There was nothing to be done. So if you're at 10.x, and that's I think 2012, 2011, something like that, then you can apply EMET protections and have them work. For Adobe Flash, my testing was inconclusive. I wasn't able to get a reliable Metasploit exploit to actually work against the iBub. It's because I'm too stupid. I'm sure there's a way to make that work, but I wasn't able to get it to go. It has been tested by FireEye to be effective against Adobe Flash, and again requires heavy customization due to that directory structure I was talking about. New directory structure for every version, so kind of makes the initial config a bit of a pain. So in the end, not bad. Okay. So the overall summary, EMET is a great way to limit exposure. It's a huge win for the Java problem. And the Java problem, everybody knows about it. Everybody hates it. This is a great way to fix that issue. It's not a replacement for application whitelisting. You should definitely look at things like AppLocker, which is also free as in beer, free as in B-sides, and worth taking a look. And excellent deployment guide from the guys at Trusted Sec. This is for EMET 5.1, but it applies to 5.2. Just go out to their website or Google Trusted Sec EMET, and you'll get this document step by step. Here's what you got to do. Sir.
Is there like a Windows Update feature for EMET, or do you have to just be privy to when the new?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to push out the new MSIs. It's easy to do with group policy. To just update it that way, but there's no auto update kind of feature built into it. Back there. So the question was, basically people are bypassing this thing, and the attacks people are constantly figuring out ways around EMET. What does the future hold? And I think Microsoft has shown that they're committed to this product. 2009 they've been running this thing, and they're coming out with new versions. It seems at least every 6 months. So and I don't work for Microsoft. I can't vouch for them too much, but it does seem like they're making an actual concerted effort to continually improve EMET, and they're taking feedback. I mean, when it gets bypassed, it tends to happen at places like Black Hat, and then the guys from Microsoft go scurrying over and say, "How'd you do that? What can we do to prevent that?" So I think this will be a continued evolving product, and hopefully they'll just keep making it better. It's pretty good right now. And again, the bad guys are they're going to get whoever they can get. If they're super motivated to get you, they're going to get you one way or another. But this definitely helps against like these sort of wide mass mal phishing campaigns, the dire campaigns of the world, where they're just spamming everybody and seeing how many clicks they can get. This will definitely protect against that kind of stuff. Sir. Mm. Awesome. No, that's good. And for those of you that didn't hear, the idea is that the mitigations are tested in EMET and then eventually rolled into the Windows core. So it's kind of their test platform to improve the overall Windows kernel security. It's good stuff. Yes.
You run it on all your workstations?
Working on it.
You go back to the slide.
Oh, sure.
Not on DCs, but
Citrix, yeah, your workstations. Oh, there it is. Point of sale, ATMs, if you got to deal with that kind of stuff. Internet of Things type devices. Things running embedded Windows. Yeah. Yes.
When you say you're working on it, are you like going through group policy?
Alpha Group. Yeah, we're starting off with. Well, we actually have a different deployment software, I guess, like a packaging software, and the idea would be to push it out that way. But you can push it with group policy just as however you push software in your environment.
Is it an MST then for the different XML configs and whatnot that you have to tweak in the versions, or do you tweak EMET and oil?
It puts that XML file in the same location every time, so you can push your initial package out with the XML file that you have at that time, but then set a scheduled task or a login script or something like that to go grab the latest XML file whenever the machine boots up. Anybody else? All right.